push record now. Okay, I think I am recording. Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
I see. Great.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your participation in the 2020 PSSA Congressional Candidate Forum. For our lineup today, we'll first be starting with an introduction. For the introduction, you will have 2 minutes to introduce who you are and why you are running for Guam's delegate, followed by 5 questions. For each question, you will have 90 seconds to answer. And within those 90 seconds, we'll have time cards. So like begin, then 60 more seconds, and then following with the time's up. Can you see the time cards on your end? Is it backwards or?
No, they look just fine to me. Thank you.
Great. And then after the question, we'll have a closing statement just so we can end this video and then end it on a high note, hopefully. As Angelo mentioned, in the chat, we'll be sending the written questions so you can read it, and then we'll have about maybe 5 seconds in between to give you some time to think about your answers, and then we'll begin with the 90-second count off. Okay, and I think that's it. That's for our lineup. So whenever you're ready, we'll start with your introduction.
Okay, well, I guess I can just begin at any time, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me first begin by thanking the PSSA for making the effort to put together this forum. Thank you in particular for your ability to accommodate us electronically to be able to do this remotely. We're on the other side of the world right now in different time zones and in different days of the week, and that's just the world that we're living in right now, and it's the technology that we have to work with. And so we're very fortunate that PSSA is accommodating and that we're able to make this happen for the organization and for the people of Guam. I also wanted to begin by thanking the PSSA for accommodating us this evening on our side, and I believe it's morning on your side. I know that we reached out, and tonight we celebrated my daughter's birthday a little early in the week, because I'm not quite sure if I'm going to be here for her actual birthday, because that's election day on the 29th of August. And so my poor little girl was telling me, she said, Daddy, you're never going to be here for my birthday. And I said, we'll celebrate it early. So thank you so much for making the time to accommodate us for that. My name is Michael Leftew Nicholas. I am the current congressman for the territory of Guam. I was elected in the most recent election just last term, and I've been in office for a little over a year and a half. It's been a very, very productive term. We've accomplished a tremendous amount of work in a record amount of time in incredible circumstances. We came into office having to deal with issues that we were not aware of because we were not transitioned, but we hit the ground running and we were able to figure things out quickly. And in that short amount of time, we've been able to close off some major issues, the biggest one of which was our war claims payments to our war claim survivors, 3,000 of which have already been adjudicated, with payments being processed and many having already received. We believe that there's about approximately 700 remaining that should be closed off before the end of the year. That closed out an 18-year saga of having to address the war claim circumstances. And I wanted to credit my team for their excellent work in being able to navigate alongside myself a very, very complicated process that saw us getting unanimous support throughout the Congress, not just in July of last year, but as late as March of this year. We passed it in the House, we passed it in committee, we passed it in the Senate, unanimous across the board, bipartisan support, and that is just a testament to the quality of service that we were able to provide for the people of Guam. All throughout the way, there were skeptics saying, you know, we'll see if it passes committee, we'll see if it passes the House, we'll see if it passes the Senate, we'll see if the president signs it. We cleared all of those hurdles, and we're very, very grateful that we were able to do that, because our war claim survivors were waiting for those resources, and we're happy that we're able to provide it. Recently, we've been very active in securing over $1.5 billion for our people in COVID-19 relief, with the pandemic money coming in. And that has paid for everything that Guam has been receiving so far, from stimulus to unemployment, rebates to UOG students for tuition, rebates to GCC students for tuition, $60 million for education to buy technology for the distance learning requirements that we're going to have to face. And that's just the beginning. We're currently out here still in DC working to secure more resources for our people, and that work is ongoing. We've secured an H-2B amendment in our National Defense Authorization Act of this year that also includes a $600 million funding for the military relocation to Guam for this year, on top of over $300 million last year. So close to $1 billion in military buildup spending, on top of the $1.5 billion in COVID-19 relief, the war claims that we've secured, and many, many other initiatives that we have working for the people of Guam. Thank you so much for the opportunity to serve you, and I look forward to answering the questions of the PSSA today. And I'm very, very grateful again for the opportunity to be with you this evening.
Okay, great. Thank you. Are you comfortable with the first recording, or did you want to redo your introduction?
Oh, no, I'm totally comfortable. No
Comfortable
fair.
with it?
They shouldn't. You guys shouldn't let anybody redo it. You guys should only give them one chance.
Okay. So Angela will start with the questions.
Yeah. So just remember, it's 5 questions, and it's going to be 90 seconds for each question. And then Maturon will do the title cards for each. Okay. Question 1. Okay. What federal policies will you pursue to address local issues related to education, public safety, and environmental sustainability?
Well, the issues of education, public safety, and environmental sustainability, of course, getting federal support for those issues is important. It's also equally important that we have the proper local attention being paid to those issues. A bulk of our funding for education, public safety, and environmental sustainability comes from our local tax resources. But being able to secure federal resources for those areas as well is also very, very important. In the recent CARES Act, we were able to secure $60 million in additional funding for education, and that went to the Department of Education to administer for them to be able to provide necessary resources for distance learning, as we mentioned in our opening statement. Public safety is a little bit more complicated. Federal funding for public safety is usually limited to federal public safety components, such as the FBI or Homeland Security. And again, we always ensure that Guam is included in those funding streams. And as for environmental sustainability, we're currently working on legislation for national heritage areas to be able to designate those very special places in Guam's history and provide funding for those to be maintained and improved so that we can make sure that they're getting the proper respect they deserve, as well as making sure that our people are able to visit those sites and see them for what they're truly able to showcase. And so those are just some of the brief areas that I'm able to describe for those 3 key areas. But it does require ongoing work. It requires a lot of partnerships in the Congress. And those are all things that we're able to deliver with the work that we provide in all the subject areas that we do our work in out here in Washington, D.C.
Okay, thank you. All right. Are you okay to go on to the next question?
Absolutely.
Okay, question number 2. What new federal policies can you introduce, or what existing policies can be amended to attract new industries to Guam to build and diversify our economy?
Well, one of the first things that we did that's very unique was we got ourselves a seat as the vice chairman on the Financial Services Committee of the United States Congress. This is one of those A-list committees, and it's the first time that a territory has been able to sit as vice chair on such a significant committee. On this committee, we have access to different areas of oversight, and one of the really big ones that I'm really excited about is the Export-Import Bank that is overseen by the Committee on Financial Services. In fact, just tomorrow night, we're going to be hosting, the Export-Import Bank is going to be hosting, and we're going to be joining them in one of the first ever conference calls with the Territory of Guam and the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands to be able to help local businesses understand what the Export-Import Bank does and what resources they can provide to help us develop export-oriented industries on Guam. Historically, Guam's industries, going all the way back to ancient times, has always centered around our ability to facilitate trade between East and West. And we're hoping that our ability to secure export-import attention will help us to diversify into those industries, as well as the financial industries in general. Guam has all of the infrastructure necessary for us to be able to get into finance and insurance on a global scale, and to try and pursue a status as the Switzerland of the Pacific. Currently, with Hong Kong facing the challenges that they are and their previous reputation as a financial hub, this is an opportunity for Guam to be able to step in and, as a U.S. territory, provide the security and the opportunity to serve as that financial hub in the future for the United States and for the East Asian countries.
Great, thank you for that one. Next question. Okay, this next question is a two-parter. And yeah, in the chat, it'll be there, so it'll be easy to keep track of. Question 3. The Compact of Free Association agreements for the Federated States of Micronesia, the Republic of the Marshall Islands, and the Republic of Palau are expected to expire by 2024. One direct impact of current compacts is the inadequate federal financial compensation to Guam for services provided to migrants. Given the significant impact to Guam, number one, should we be a party to these negotiations? And number two, if so, how will you ensure Guam's representation at the negotiating table? And what will you advocate for on behalf of Guam?
Well, first, to be clear, on several areas, the compacts for the RMI and the FSM are expiring in 2023, and the Republic of Palau is in 2024. When it comes to negotiating those compacts, I know that it's politically popular to say that Guam should be participating in those negotiations, but the reality is that those negotiations are between country to country, and Guam is not a country. We are part of the United States of America, and the United States of America is the primary negotiator between them and the FSM, the RMI, and the Republic of Palau. That being said, however, the negotiations, though being handled by the United States, ultimately need to be implemented. And the implementation of those negotiations occurs in the Congress on a committee that Guam sits. And that's in the Natural Resources Committee, of which I am a member. So what will happen is that these two, the United States and the respective countries will have their negotiations, but the implementation of those negotiations need to actually be enacted. And so what will happen is in the Natural Resources Committee, we will be very active in contributing to the dialogue of the respective components of those negotiations, as well as being able to actively contribute to the dialogue as those negotiations are ongoing. And we've been doing so in various hearings, providing numerous suggestions to include Medicaid coverage for those compact citizens in the territory of Guam and in other areas of the United States, as well as compact the Medicaid funding in those respective compact states directly. We also want to provide them with various financial opportunities that allow them to access U.S. capital markets for lower interest rates. And those are just tip of the iceberg of all the work that we can do to involve ourselves in those discussions about actually being direct in the negotiations.
All right, we got 2 more question topics left, lined up. Okay, question 4. With both the docking of the USS Theodore Roosevelt and the 35 US airmen who violated their quarantine orders, our local government once again took a backseat to the mission of the US military while compromising the safety of our local community. As delegate, how will you work with the local government and your colleagues in Congress to mitigate future incidents and ensure accountability if faced with similar problems?
Well, in the case of the USS Teddy Roosevelt, I don't think Guam took a back seat. I think Guam took the front seat. We stepped up and we said, you know what, we have Americans who are in distress. We have the ability to provide relief for those Americans. And as fellow Americans, we're going to do that. And that was an incredible thing. I think that was a really, really good thing to do. And our people not only were able to do the right thing in that instance, but we showcase to the rest of the country that we're willing to step up and provide when necessary. With respect to those 35 airmen and them violating their quarantine, my understanding is that they are definitely being investigated. And if there's going to be found to have been any kind of violations that put the people of Guam in any extraordinary risk as a result of them disobeying orders, they're going to absolutely be punished. And that is, those 2 areas are, I think, a key thing to understand. We need to work very, very closely with our military partners to not only be there when they need us, but for them to make sure they're enforcing the regulations that they need to in order to keep our people safe. At the end of the day, Guam is a part of the American family, and our participation in making sure that we provide for our troops is part and parcel to those troops also putting their lives on the line to making sure that we maintain our freedoms. And I'm very, very proud of Guam stepping up. I'm also expecting the U.S. military to hold those airmen to account. And we need to make sure that Guam is going to always do the right thing when we're faced with those kind of circumstances, and the US military is going to do the right thing when faced with those circumstances.
All right, thank you for that one. And going on to our last question topic. Question 5. In light of the Davis ruling, what will you do to further advance the island's quest for self-determination and decolonization? And that was part 1. And part 2 is, do you support Chamorro self-determination?
I absolutely support Chamorro self-determination. I also believe that if we're going to be determining the political status for the entire island of Guam, we need to allow everyone on Guam to participate in that. Everybody who is legal to vote in all of our elections should be able to legally participate in the determination of the political future of Guam. And the reason I believe that is because there's no way that we're going to be able to have the consensus in the community to build the future of our island if we're only allowing certain people to decide what that future is going to look like. As a Chamorro myself, I firmly believe that we have a lot of historical grievances that go all the way back to the Spanish colonial times. But in reconciling those grievances, we need to understand as well that building a future for our island and our people is going to require us to be big enough to include all of our island and all of our people. And that being said, I think that having a vote that's going to bring the entire island in and allow all of our people to have a voice in determining that political future is going to be key to the Chamorro self-determination, as well as the self-determination of all of the people of Guam who are all living in the same unincorporated territory. I think the Chamorro people absolutely, as Guam being our home, we need to take the lead in advocating for what we believe is the best status for our island. But we also need to be mindful of the fact that if we really want a future for our island, it's going to have to involve everyone. And so those are the positions that I hold with respect to Chamorro self-determination, political status, and making sure that we include everyone in the path forward.
All right, thank you so much, Congressman. So that was all the question topics we had for today. Now we can get into the closing statement. Materwan?
Yes, closing statement will take about 2 minutes.
Well, I again, thank you so much for the opportunity. Time went by very, very quickly. You know, there's a lot of issues that we talked about here tonight, but I think the biggest thing that we need to look at, and the biggest issue that's before us in this election, is whether or not we're going to make results be what matters in the public service that we expect. In the election going on right now and in the campaigns, there's a lot of distraction and there's a lot of noise, but there's very little results in terms of what others can show versus what Congressman San Nicolas and the work that we've done over the last year clearly illustrates. And if the people of Guam are going to be looking forward to the same kind of service, we're going to be delivering results and using those results as the baseline for us to continue remaining in office, then the choice is very, very clear in this election. In the last year and a half, we've accomplished so much, despite so many obstacles being thrown in our way, despite criticisms being levied against us from day one. And we have a very, very solid reputation in the Congress, having secured unanimous support for so many issues, even as recently as just a couple of weeks ago with our H-2B amendment that required 3 committees to sign off, Democrats and Republicans, leadership on both sides, and again, an amendment that got passed unanimously. So we're in a very, very good place right now. I'm not quite sure why there are those who want to run for office and try and derail that. But that's up to them. Their decisions are their own. As for us, we're going to continue focusing on the work, delivering the results for the people of Guam, and hoping that we finally entered an era where results matter. And politics and political noise in particular is just not going to be something that we're going to allow to change the agenda when the agenda is already very, very productive for our people.
Thank you, Congressman San Nicolas. We actually have less than 10 minutes for the rest of the video call. Did you have any more questions that you wanted from us to know about the video itself, or?
So you guys are going to you're going to do your own editing on this, and then you're going to put it up online, or how's that going to work?
Yeah, we'll be posting it to our Instagram and Facebook page, and then before that we'll be starting to promote the forum itself with each of the candidates. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you guys so much. Have you guys already finished your interviews with everybody? Am I the last one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we finished them.
Very
Yes,
good.
and then
Very good.
For the video launch, you'll be the third candidate for us to display, for us to launch on our Instagram and Facebook.
Okay. Okay. Looking forward to it. Thank you guys so much. So did everybody stay within their time when they answered their questions?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
90 seconds
the
goes
time
by
for-
really fast. It's like just, blink of an eye and all of a sudden, whoa. And the reality of some of these questions, and I would be more than happy to sit down with the PSSA in the future when we're able to make the time. I mean, I know that, these current circumstances are really challenging, but I would love to make time, hours even, to really sit down and hash these things out. Because a 90-second soundbite, we try our very best to make a case and to have it encapsulate the rationale. But there's a lot that we can really talk about to get a very big picture understanding of why certain things probably should be pursued in one way versus another way. And I would very much welcome the opportunity to address the organization and have those kind of in-depth discussions, because we see a lot out here, and we really want to be able to share perspectives so that we can set realistic expectations. Because at the end, when it comes down to it, if the expectations are not realistic, if they're not attainable, then we're just going to keep putting our people through the same cycles and not actually getting any progress. And so attainable, realistic expectations, I think, is something that we definitely need to have a conversation about. And I'll be more than willing to do so with the PSSA at a future date that we're able to organize.
Great. We'll definitely bring it up with our organization.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for making time. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed meeting both of you.
Okay. Yes, thank you on behalf of all the students in political science and the future of our community here on Guam to listen to everyone's responses for the candidates.
Thank you so much. You guys have a great day, I guess. It's nighttime here.
Yeah. Oh, and then happy birthday also to your daughter.
Yeah, she's turning 10, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, these kids are just growing up like overnight. When I first ran for office 8 years ago as a senator, she was just 2 years old, a little itty bitty baby. And now here's this, string bean of a little girl that's really growing so fast, and just time really flies. But yeah, thank you so much for that. It was a really nice, a really nice little get together. We got an ice cream cake, and we tried to cut it before I came down, but it was too hard. It was too frozen. And so I was like, we were jabbing the knife in and it just didn't work out. So after I get off with you guys, I'm probably going to swing back up there and try and see if the cake melted a little bit so I can get a bite of it and probably take a picture of my girl. But thank you guys again so much for making the time to accommodate us, not just for the change in date, but also the change in time. I really, really appreciate it.
Okay. And then just for your team to send the different angles of you recording to our email.
Yes. And if you can send us that email, did we receive that already?
Yes, I'll send it again on the chat.
Okay.
There, just our Gmail.
Okay.
Okay, so if that ends our meeting, thank you again for joining us, and then we'll be signing off. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Have a great day, Congressman.
You too.